Betrayal Files presents The Wedding Deception. It started the way the best stories do, unexpectedly, under flickering fairy lights at a rooftop party in the heart of San Francisco. Emma had been balancing a plate of mini sliders and a plastic flute of champagne when Jake bumped into her, spilling bubbles all over her new silk blouse. "Oh no, I am so sorry," Jake exclaimed, his face flushing a shade of red that matched the embarrassment in his eyes. "Let me make it up to you." Emma, initially irked, couldn't help but smile at his awkwardness. She flicked her wrist, laughing. "You're lucky I'm in a forgiving mood tonight, and I was planning to get this blouse ruined anyway, so no big deal." His blue eyes sparkled with gratitude, his lips curving into a smile. "You sure? How about I buy you a drink to make up for it?" "Only if it's champagne," Emma teased, tilting her head. It was a small, unexpected moment. But those were often the most important, the kind that led to late-night talks, stolen glances, and unspoken promises. They ended up talking for hours, leaning against the rail, the city glowing beneath them like a backdrop to their shared world. He told her he was a tech consultant, a position that sounded like it could hold him to some kind of ethereal pedestal. She told him she was finishing her architecture degree, and suddenly, it felt like the future opened up right before them. "I don't know if I'm ready for anything serious," Emma admitted, playing with the rim of her champagne glass, trying not to let the words sound like a confession. Jake chuckled. "Same here. I think we're both just looking for something real." His honesty struck her, and though she couldn't explain why, something inside her let go just a little. The weeks that followed felt like a dream wrapped in golden light. Jake was thoughtful, surprising her with flowers, weekend getaways, and late-night drives through the city. He would sneak into her apartment with a cappuccino in the mornings, always knowing exactly what kind of music to play when they were cooking dinner together. It was effortless. Emma was falling fast, but with him it felt safe. When her mom got diagnosed with cancer, Jake was there, quietly, unconditionally. He drove her to appointments, stayed by her side during late-night hospital visits. He never wavered, never showed frustration or tiredness. He was everything she needed. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she murmured one evening, her head resting on his shoulder as they sat side by side in the sterile hospital waiting room. Jake kissed the top of her head, his voice low and reassuring. "You won't ever have to. I'm here, always. But even the best dreams have shadows." The cracks started slowly. First it was missed calls, then vague answers to questions that felt too personal. Jake would be working late or busy with clients. There was a woman named Sienna who popped up too often on his social media. Emma ignored the gnawing feeling in her stomach. She told herself she was being paranoid. After all, Jake had never given her any reason to doubt him. Then one night everything shattered. Emma had borrowed Jake's laptop to send a work email. As she clicked open the file, a folder labeled HR Presentation caught her eye. It was strange. She knew Jake worked in tech consulting, not human resources. Curiosity got the better of her. She opened it. Inside the folder were screenshots of text conversations. The words jumped off the screen in bold, undeniable clarity. "I can't stop thinking about you. You make me feel alive. I'll leave her for you, I promise." Her heart stopped. She stared at the screen, her breath caught in her throat. The messages were from Sienna, the same woman who'd appeared in Jake's life so often over the past few months. Emma's hands trembled, and the tears welled up before she could stop them. But no, she refused to let herself break. Not yet. She called Liam, her best friend since college. He answered on the first ring, sensing the distress in her voice. "Em, what's going on?" "I found everything, Liam. He's been seeing someone else, and I don't know how to walk away," she whispered, her voice cracking. There was a pause on the other end, and then Liam's steady voice broke through the silence. "You don't need to walk away, Emma. You need to rise. He doesn't get to destroy you. You've got this." She didn't cry that night, not then. But she spent the next few days planning. There was a wedding to go through after all. She still had a commitment to keep. She smiled through dress fittings. She showed up for cake tastings. She didn't give Jake any indication that she knew the truth. She would play her part. But all the while, she was creating a moment, a final scene, her grand finale. The chapel she chose was old and dramatic, with high arches and stained glass windows that painted the room in hues of gold and purple. The space was filled with a quiet reverence, a contrast to the chaos brewing in Emma's heart. She asked Liam to help her gather the receipts, every screenshot, every text. The wedding day came like a storm, quiet yet powerful. Emma felt her heart race as she walked down the aisle, her eyes scanning the rows of guests. She tried to keep the tremor in her hands hidden, but her fingers were cold. The dress, once a symbol of hope, felt like armor. She was a soldier now, and the war she had to fight wasn't against anyone but herself. Jake stood at the altar, a smile on his face as he waited for her. He looked at her with that same adoration he'd always had, but it felt like a lie now. She could see through him, past the charm, to the dishonesty that lingered behind his eyes. When Emma reached the altar, she felt her heart shattering with every step. She took his hand, and for a moment everything seemed normal, but she knew she was standing on the edge of something irreversible. She cleared her throat, and the words came out clear, steady. "Before we start, I want to thank you all for being here today, but I need to share something with you." Jake frowned, but before he could speak, she nodded toward the giant screen behind them. Liam, standing in the back, pressed play. The text messages began scrolling across the screen for all to see. "Can't stop thinking about you. I'll leave her for you, I promise. I'm yours tonight." Gasps filled the chapel. Someone in the back sobbed. Jake's face went pale. "Emma, please," Jake stammered, his voice cracking. But she didn't let him finish. "This," she said, raising her chin, "is what you've done. And today I'm not here to marry you, I'm here to reclaim myself." She turned, and without a second glance, she walked out. The doors slammed behind her, and the silence that followed was deafening. 2 weeks later, Emma made her next move. Jake tried to play the victim, posting cryptic quotes on his Instagram. "Growth comes from pain, forgive, don't forget." But Emma didn't flinch. She contacted Sienna, not with anger but with understanding, and that's when she learned the truth. Sienna hadn't known about Emma. She'd been promised the same future, the same commitment. Their stories matched, the lies layered perfectly. Sienna and Emma joined forces. Together they launched The Unveiling, a blog dedicated to helping women recognize red flags in relationships and reclaim their worth. It went viral. Interviews, podcasts, panels. They were invited to share their stories, their strength, and Jake. His business crumbled. A major client dropped him after the scandal broke, and his public image was destroyed. Liam, who had always been there, was now her rock in Paris. He didn't just visit her, he stood by her side as a friend, a confidant. And eventually things changed between them. It wasn't dramatic or sudden. It was a natural evolution, like two puzzle pieces coming together after years of waiting to fit. One evening they sat at the edge of a bridge overlooking the Seine. The water glittered beneath the lights of the city. Liam turned to her with a soft smile. "Emma, do you remember when you first came to me for advice?" She laughed, her voice filled with the warmth of their friendship. "Of course, you told me to rise." "And you did," he said softly, brushing a lock of her hair behind her ear. "You're not just standing tall, you're soaring." The words felt like a weight had been lifted from her chest, and in that moment, she realized she wasn't just recovering. She was thriving. And maybe there was a love story here after all. A love story not built on promises or fairy tales, but on truth, trust, and the kind of resilience only the bravest could embody. Years later, Emma's career soared to heights she'd only once dreamed of. She had become a sought-after architect, known for designing spaces that reflected both innovation and heart. She traveled the world for projects, meeting incredible people, and leaving a legacy of beautiful designs wherever she went. But the true reward wasn't in her career success. It was in her ability to love herself, to walk away from what didn't serve her, and to build a future on her own terms. Her life was finally her own. And as she looked at Liam one evening, standing side by side in a quiet park in Paris, she knew. There was no need for a dramatic declaration of love. Their journey had been long, filled with ups and downs, but in the end, it was the strength, the friendship, and the unwavering support they had for one another that had made them something more. Together, they had built a life based on honesty, resilience, and a love that would last forever. Not an ending, but a beginning.